The first glimpse of the Titan-class ship. The galaxy was filled with unknowns, vast and mysterious. For centuries, humanity had watched the stars with curiosity, dreaming of what lay beyond. But the dream of reaching out into space had always been just that, a dream. Until now. The Titan-class ship, the Valkyrie, stood in the dock, a symbol of everything humanity had worked for. It was unlike anything seen before, massive, powerful, and filled with advanced technology. It was built for one purpose: to protect Earth and explore the stars. The ship was a work of art and engineering, a mixture of human creativity, innovation, and determination. And now, as the day approached for its maiden voyage, the world stood still, holding its breath. The crew of the Valkyrie were ready, each one trained for this moment. They had spent years preparing for this mission, a mission that would take them beyond Earth's atmosphere and into the depths of space. Among them was Captain Elena Ward, a calm and strategic leader who had spent her entire career waiting for this moment. She stood before the ship, gazing at the sleek metallic surface that glinted in the sunlight. It was a new dawn for humanity, and she was at the forefront. Ready for launch, Elena said to her crew, her voice steady but filled with excitement. Her eyes met those of her second-in-command, Lieutenant Jason Black, who was just as eager. They knew that this was more than just a mission. It was a step into the unknown. On Earth, millions watched the launch with anticipation. People crowded in front of screens, glued to their televisions and devices, waiting for the moment when the Valkyrie would soar into space. The ship had been a symbol of humanity's progress, and everyone was eager to see it take flight. The countdown began. Every second seemed to stretch out, as though the entire world was holding its breath. The engines roared to life, and the massive ship slowly lifted off the ground, its powerful thrusters shaking the very earth beneath it. The Valkyrie ascended into the sky, and the world watched as it disappeared into the clouds. But it wasn't just the people of Earth who were watching. Far beyond the planets, beyond the reaches of human exploration, a group of alien beings stood silent, observing. Their advanced technology allowed them to monitor distant civilizations without being detected. They had seen humanity's progress, and now they were witnessing the launch of the Valkyrie. They were not impressed. To them, humanity was still insignificant, an emerging species in a vast, dangerous galaxy. They believed they could easily overpower this new threat, if indeed humanity could even be called a threat. They had no idea what they were about to face. Back on Earth, the excitement reached a fever pitch as the Valkyrie crossed the threshold of space. For the crew, it was both exhilarating and terrifying. They were no longer just humans on Earth. They were explorers, reaching out into the stars, and they knew that their journey could change everything. As the ship glided through the vacuum of space, Elena's voice rang out over the intercom. "We've made it," she said, her tone filled with awe. "We are the first to venture this far." The crew celebrated, but their joy was short-lived. Without warning, the ship's sensors began to pick up something unusual. A small blip on the radar. It was faint, but growing stronger. Jason frowned as he studied the data. "Captain, we have an unknown vessel approaching. It's moving fast, much faster than anything we've seen." Elena's heart skipped a beat. They were far beyond Earth's protective shield now. The unknown vessel was heading straight for them. She didn't panic, but her mind raced. Who could it be? What kind of ship could travel at such incredible speeds? The crew quickly got to work, preparing for what might be an encounter with another advanced civilization. They powered up the ship's weapon systems and went into high alert, not knowing what to expect. The Valkyrie was powerful, but this was no longer a routine mission. This was something they had never prepared for. Suddenly, the unknown ship appeared on their screens. It was massive, far larger than the Valkyrie. Its sleek black surface reflected the stars around it, and its engines glowed with an eerie green light. Elena's heart sank. This was not a ship they had ever seen before. It was alien, and it was getting closer. The crew stared at the screen, their breaths held. The alien vessel stopped just outside of their reach, hovering like a shadow in the blackness of space. For a moment, everything was still. The silence of space seemed to amplify the tension that hung in the air. The Valkyrie was no longer alone. This was it, the first confrontation, the moment humanity had feared and dreamed about. The Valkyrie and its crew were about to come face to face with a power they couldn't yet comprehend. And then, as if in response to their unspoken fears, the alien ship sent a single message, its words simple but clear. "You dare to enter our space." The voice was cold, commanding, and distant, yet it carried a tone of surprise, as though it hadn't expected humanity to make it this far. Captain Alina Ward took a deep breath. This was the moment she had been training for her entire life. Her hand hovered over the intercom button, ready to respond. The fate of humanity, of Earth, rested in her hands. But she wasn't going to back down. Not now. Not ever. "We're not afraid," she said, her voice unwavering. "We've come for answers." The universe was about to change. As the message from the alien ship echoed through the Valkyrie's comm system, a chilling silence fell over the crew. Everyone was frozen in place, staring at the screen. The words, "You dare to enter our space," played on repeat in their minds, and for a moment, the crew wondered if they had made a mistake. Captain Alina Ward was the first to break the silence. She stood up from her chair, her mind racing. This was no ordinary encounter. The message was clear. The aliens were not just watching. They were threatening. The crew scrambled to their stations, each member aware that the situation was spiraling out of control. The unknown ship remained just outside their reach, hanging motionless in the vast emptiness of space. The sight of it on their screens was both magnificent and terrifying. It was larger, more advanced, and more menacing than anything Earth had ever imagined. "Captain," Lieutenant Jason Black said, his voice tense, "I'm getting something strange on the scanners. They're powering up their weapons systems. This might not be a friendly visit after all." Alina's heart skipped a beat. The crew was still unsure whether this was a hostile encounter or a misunderstanding. Was this a warning, a test, or an actual threat? "Prepare the ship for defensive maneuvers," Alina ordered. "We're not going to take chances." The crew responded quickly. Weapons were primed, shields reinforced, and communication lines were open. They had trained for this moment, but nothing could have prepared them for what was happening. The situation had escalated in a way they never anticipated. A massive alien ship, far beyond humanity's capabilities, had appeared in front of them. The alien ship's green engines glowed brightly, casting an eerie light on the Valkyrie. Alina tried to remain calm, but inside, she was struggling to contain her nerves. It wasn't just the size of the alien ship that intimidated her. It was the sense of ancient power that seemed to radiate from it. Whoever these aliens were, they were not to be underestimated. Suddenly, another transmission came through, this time in a more formal tone. The alien voice spoke again, but this time it sounded different, more authoritative, more menacing. "Your species has no place here. You are not welcome. Leave now, or we will force you to leave." The voice reverberated in their ears, as if coming from all directions at once. Captain Alina Ward's mind was spinning. She looked at Jason, who was staring at the screen, his face pale. This was no negotiation. This was a warning. The aliens were giving them a choice: retreat or face the consequences. "Alina," Jason said, his voice barely a whisper, "they have weapons that could destroy us in seconds. We need to think this through." Alina turned to her crew, each of them preparing for a potential battle. They had trained for this, but it was nothing like they had imagined. The Titan-class ship was designed to fight off minor threats. But this was something different. "We can't just back down," Alina replied, her voice steady. "We didn't come this far to turn back now." But as she spoke, her mind was working at full speed. She couldn't afford to make a mistake. The fate of the entire crew, and perhaps the future of humanity, rested on the decisions she made in the next few minutes. The alien ship loomed larger on the screen, its dark, imposing shape seemingly swallowing the stars around it. It was close, too close. And yet there was something else, something that wasn't immediately clear. "We're being scanned," said Lieutenant Black, his voice rising with alarm. "They're trying to learn more about us, our technology." Alina's heart raced. The aliens were trying to understand their enemy before making a move. If the aliens were scanning them, they likely had a reason to believe the Valkyrie might be a threat. What if humanity's technology had caught their attention? What if they had underestimated humanity's capabilities? "Stand by," Alina said, trying to maintain control. "Let's show them what we've got." The crew braced themselves as the ship's systems hummed to life, ready for anything. But before they could make another move, the alien ship fired. The first blast hit the Valkyrie's shields with a deafening crack, sending vibrations through the entire vessel. The crew was thrown back in their seats, the power of the blast rattling their bones. The ship's defensive shields flared brightly, absorbing the impact, but Alina knew it wouldn't hold forever. "Shields holding," Jason reported, though his voice was strained. "But the energy levels are dropping fast. They're overwhelming us." The alien ship fired again, and again, each blast stronger than the last. The Valkyrie's shields flickered as they struggled to withstand the assault. The crew worked furiously to keep the ship in one piece, but it was clear they were outmatched. "Counterattack," Alina ordered. "Fire at will." The Valkyrie returned fire, launching a barrage of plasma torpedoes toward the alien ship. The alien vessel dodged effortlessly, its advanced technology allowing it to glide and twist through space, as if it were part of the very fabric of the universe. No matter what the crew did, the alien ship seemed to be one step ahead, effortlessly evading their best efforts. The alien vessel responded with a new weapon, a beam of energy so powerful that it sliced through the Valkyrie's hull like butter. The ship shuddered as alarms blared, and a section of the hull ruptured, venting atmosphere into space. The crew scrambled to seal the breach. "Alina, we can't hold out much longer," Jason shouted over the comms. But Alina, undeterred, kept her eyes fixed on the alien ship. She wasn't going to back down. Not now, not ever. The fate of humanity rested on their ability to endure and adapt. The Valkyrie wasn't just a ship, it was a symbol of everything humanity had worked for. And no matter what, they were not going to let it fall without a fight. "Prepare the backup systems," Alina said, her voice filled with determination. "We're not giving up. Not now. Not ever." The crew, though battered and exhausted, knew she was right. This was humanity's ultimate test, and they were ready to face whatever came next. The Valkyrie shook violently as another alien beam sliced through the hull, sending sparks and smoke filling the bridge. The sound of alarms blared through the ship's corridors, but Captain Alina Ward's focus remained unwavering. This wasn't just another skirmish. This was humanity's first real confrontation with a species far beyond their own technological capabilities. The crew was scrambling, each member doing their best to keep the ship intact, but it was becoming increasingly clear they were losing this battle. "Shields at 30%. Lieutenant Jason Black shouted, his voice edged with panic as he worked furiously at his console. The alien ship's attacks were relentless, each blast a direct hit. The Valkyrie was designed for long-range combat and defense, but this was something completely different. The alien ship's firepower was beyond anything they had ever encountered. "We can't keep taking hits like this, Captain." Jason's voice trembled as he tried to recalibrate the shields. "We need to find a way to fight back, or we're done." Alina didn't respond immediately. Her mind was racing, analyzing the situation in real time. Their weapon systems were too slow, their defenses barely holding, and they had no idea what they were up against. These aliens weren't just invaders. They were invincible, or so it seemed. "Captain, incoming." shouted Ensign Maria Velasquez, who was monitoring the external cameras. A new wave of alien projectiles were headed straight for them. It was clear that the alien ship wasn't just targeting their defenses, they were targeting the ship's very heart. If those weapons hit the core of the Valkyrie, it would be the end. All hands, brace for impact, Elena shouted. A violent explosion rocked the Valkyrie, and the ship groaned under the stress. The crew was thrown back in their seats, the force of the blast nearly knocking them out of position. Elena gritted her teeth, fighting against the G-forces that pressed down on her. She wasn't about to let her crew down, not when they were this close to losing everything. Damage report, Elena demanded, trying to maintain control. Structural integrity is holding, but only just, Jason said, his voice strained. The engines are still functional, but if we take another hit like that, we might lose thrust completely. Our systems are rapidly degrading. Elena's mind spun. They couldn't let the aliens finish them off. They needed a plan, a strategy to turn the tide. But how? They had no idea what kind of weapons the enemy was using, and their ship was taking damage faster than they could repair it. We need to hit them where it hurts, Elena said, her voice gaining strength. I need you to find their weak point, Jason. There's got to be something we can exploit. Jason's eyes were locked onto the data streaming across his console. He looked up, his face pale, but there was a spark of hope in his eyes. There's a vulnerability, he said, pointing to a weak spot on the alien ship's energy grid. It's not much, but if we hit it with a concentrated blast, we might be able to disable their weapon systems, at least temporarily. Elena's heart raced. This was their chance. They had only one shot at this. Maria, get us in position, Elena ordered. We don't have much time. Maria nodded, her hand steady as she adjusted the ship's course. The Valkyrie's engines hummed to life, pulling them into position. The crew watched in tense silence as the alien ship loomed large on their viewports. We're in range, Maria said. Now or never, Elena muttered under her breath. Firing, Jason shouted. The Valkyrie fired everything they had. A concentrated burst of plasma torpedoes shot toward the alien ship's weak point, striking it with precision. The impact was enormous, and for a moment, the alien ship's energy shields flickered and dimmed. Then, in an instant, the alien ship retaliated, unleashing a barrage of laser fire so intense that the Valkyrie's shields shuddered under the pressure. The Valkyrie's engines sputtered, and alarms rang out across the ship. The blast had damaged the enemy, but at what cost? The Valkyrie lurched violently as another wave of alien fire hit them. The crew gasped, holding onto their seats as they fought to stay in control. Damage report, Elena yelled again. Shields are failing, Jason replied. We're losing power to the aft engine. If we don't do something fast, we're going to drift helplessly in space. Elena's heart pounded in her chest. The alien ship had responded faster than she had anticipated, and they were now caught in a desperate struggle for survival. They had no choice now. Either they had to escape or find a way to win. Maria, Elena barked, can we make the jump to light speed? Maria's eyes flickered to the navigational console. We can try, but the engines are barely functioning. It'll take everything we've got. Then make it happen, Elena ordered, her voice tight with determination. Get us out of here, or we're done. As the alien ship closed in for another strike, Elena's heart sank. The battle wasn't over. It was just beginning. The Valkyrie was facing its toughest test yet, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The ship's engines roared to life one more time, and with a burst of energy, the Valkyrie surged forward, narrowly escaping the alien ship's grasp. The crew exhaled in relief, but the war was far from over. The aliens weren't going to let them go that easily. And as Elena watched the alien ship's form fade into the distance, she knew one thing for certain. This was just the beginning of a much larger battle. The Valkyrie had barely escaped the alien ship's grasp, but Elena knew this brief reprieve wasn't enough. Their engines were damaged, their shields nearly depleted, and they were still in enemy territory. The crew was battered, but they were alive, just barely. But for how long? Captain Elena Ward stood on the bridge, her fists clenched at her sides. She could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down on her more than ever. Humanity was facing a force far beyond anything they had prepared for. She wasn't sure if this was the beginning of the end, or if it was the moment that would define humanity's place in the universe. "Status report," she said, trying to steady her voice. "We've made it into a nearby asteroid field, Captain." Maria Velasquez, the navigator, responded. "It's a temporary hiding spot. The alien ship is still tracking us, but we should have some time to regroup." Elena nodded. "Good. Let's use this time to assess the damage and figure out our next move." Lieutenant Jason Black was working furiously at his console. He tapped a few keys, looking at the data streaming in. His face was pale, his hands trembling slightly, but he maintained his focus. "Captain, the damage is worse than we thought," Jason said, his voice laced with concern. "The aft engine is barely functioning, and the shields are at critical levels. We'll be sitting ducks if we don't get those systems back online." Elena's gaze hardened. They had come so close to losing the ship and the fight. This wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about showing the galaxy that humanity wouldn't back down. Not when it mattered the most. "We need to get those engines fixed. Jason, I want a plan to get us up and running within the next hour," Elena ordered. She turned to Maria. "Can we make it to a more secure position? Somewhere we can repair and plan our next move." Maria's eyes darted across her console. "There's a derelict station nearby, Captain. It's old, but it's uncharted. We could use it as a base of operations." "Then let's head there," Elena said. "It's our best chance. Prepare the crew. We'll make the jump to the station as soon as Jason gives the word." As the Valkyrie slowly made its way toward the derelict station, Elena couldn't help but feel a growing unease. The alien ship was still out there, hunting them, waiting for the moment they would slip up. It wasn't just about firepower anymore. It was about strategy, and it was clear that the aliens were playing a game they had already mastered. "The station's just ahead, Captain," Maria called out from her station. Her voice was calm, but the tension was palpable in the air. "Good. All hands, prepare for docking," Elena ordered. She couldn't afford to let her guard down. This could be a trap. As the Valkyrie docked with the station, a sense of stillness enveloped the crew. They were in the belly of the beast now, isolated, vulnerable. The station, once a thriving hub of activity, was now a ghost town, its corridors empty and lifeless. But it provided them with the cover they needed, at least for the time being. Elena stood in front of the viewing window, staring out at the vast emptiness of space. "I need answers. What kind of enemy are we facing?" Jason walked over to her, his eyes still glued to his console. "Captain, I've been running scans on the alien ship's signatures. There's something strange about them. They're not just technologically advanced. There's something more. The energy signatures I've detected are unlike anything we've seen before. These aren't just invaders. They're a species with an agenda." Elena's brow furrowed. "What kind of agenda?" Jason shook his head. "I don't know yet, but it's clear that we're not their first target. We're just the latest in a long line of conquests. And if they can wipe us out, there's no telling what they'll do next." A chill ran down Elena's spine. The weight of their situation was starting to settle in. This wasn't just a fight for survival. This was a fight for humanity's place in the galaxy. As the crew moved to make repairs, Elena's thoughts remained focused on the alien ship. What were they planning? And how could they possibly stand a chance against such a force? The tension in the air was thick as the hours ticked by. The Valkyrie needed time to recover, but every second they spent in the derelict station felt like a moment closer to being discovered. The aliens weren't far behind. Jason's voice broke through her thoughts. "Captain, we've finished the preliminary repairs. We're not back to full strength, but we've got a fighting chance. We can make a move." Elena nodded. "Then let's do it. We've survived this long. Now it's time to show them what humanity is really made of." But even as she gave the order, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the calm before the storm. The aliens were still out there, and they were coming for them. The Valkyrie had barely regained its full operational capacity when the first shockwave of enemy fire struck the station's hull. It was so powerful that the entire ship shuddered. Elena was thrown forward against the console, her hand grasping for anything to steady herself. The station trembled under the force, lights flickering as alarms blared throughout the ship. "Report," Elena barked, her voice steady despite the panic rising inside her. "Captain." Jason's voice echoed from the comms. "The alien ship is here. They've already begun attacking the station's defenses. We need to move now." Elena's heart raced. This was it. The fight had come to them. There was no more hiding, no more time to repair. The alien fleet was ready for battle, and they weren't wasting a moment. "Divert all power to shields," Elena ordered. "Maria, get us out of here, now." The Valkyrie's engines roared to life, slowly pushing the ship away from the derelict station, but the damage was already done. The alien ship, massive, its dark silhouette towering in the distance, was closing in fast. And worse, they had already launched several smaller craft, which streaked toward them like deadly arrows. Elena gripped the armrest of her chair as the ship lurched. "What's our status on the weapons?" she asked, trying to keep calm. "Lasers online, Captain." Jason's voice crackled through the comms, his tone barely hiding the panic. "But our targeting system is still malfunctioning. We need a few more minutes." A few minutes. That's all they had. Elena knew it. The alien ship wasn't waiting around. It was already preparing its next move. "We can't afford a few minutes," Elena shouted. "Start firing manually. Just aim and fire. We'll figure out the targeting system later." Jason didn't hesitate. Within moments, the Valkyrie fired its first volley, the powerful laser beams streaking through the dark void of space. The alien ship retaliated almost immediately, unleashing a barrage of its own. The Valkyrie's shields flickered, absorbing the impact, but it was clear that the enemy ship had far more firepower. "Captain, we're losing shields fast," Maria shouted. "We can't take many more hits like that." Elena clenched her teeth. They needed time. Time to fix their systems, time to strategize. But the alien fleet wasn't giving them that luxury. "We can't outrun them," she muttered, her mind racing. "We have to take out their smaller ships first. If we don't, they'll overwhelm us. Jason, target the fighters. Maria, get us closer to their mothership. We need to force them into a corner." Jason's voice came through the comms once more, cold with urgency. "Understood, Captain." Locking onto the nearest enemy fighters. "Hold on," Maria warned as she yanked the controls, weaving the Valkyrie through the incoming laser fire, maneuvering as skillfully as she could to avoid the worst of the onslaught. The ship trembled under the strain, but Maria's expertise kept them just a step ahead of their attackers. The smaller alien ships swarmed like angry hornets, darting in and out of their firing range, but they weren't fast enough. Jason's quick, manual targeting allowed the Valkyrie to land several devastating hits. 2 alien fighters exploded into balls of fire, their remains drifting helplessly through space. "We've got them on the run," Jason shouted, a spark of triumph in his voice. But Elena knew it wasn't over. Far from it. The alien mothership loomed large in the distance, and despite the success against the smaller craft, it was clear that the real challenge still lay ahead. If the Valkyrie didn't take down the mothership, none of this would matter. "Elena, there's no way we can take that thing head-on," Jason said, his voice low. "It's too powerful. We're already down to less than 40% shields, and our weapons are almost drained." Elena's mind raced as she assessed the situation. The alien fleet was formidable, but humanity's survival depended on finding a way to break through their defenses. "We don't have to take it head-on," she said, her eyes lighting up with a plan. "We'll hit them where they least expect it. Get us in close to their mothership. Maria, you have to be quick with the maneuvering. We'll get in under their radar, and then we strike." Maria looked unsure, but nodded. "Under their radar. But we'll be in range of their heavy weapons, Captain." "We don't have a choice," Elena said, her voice cold and steady. "Get us in close. Trust me." Maria hesitated for only a moment, then gripped the controls with renewed determination. "Aye, Captain." Preparing to make the run. As the Valkyrie barreled toward the mothership, the tension was unbearable. The crew was focused, every movement measured and precise. Elena could feel the sweat on her palms, but there was no room for fear. They had no backup, no reinforcements, no second chances. "We're almost there," Maria said, her voice tight with concentration. "I'll get us in as close as I can." Elena nodded. "Do it." The ship dove toward the alien mothership, narrowly dodging incoming fire, the Valkyrie's hull groaning with the strain. The crew held their breath as they neared the enemy ship. This was it. It was now or never. Jason activated the weapons, his hands moving with practiced precision. "Ready, Captain." Elena's voice was calm, but her heart was pounding. "Fire." The Valkyrie unleashed a devastating volley at the weak points of the mothership. The powerful shots pierced the outer hull, and for a brief moment, Elena allowed herself to believe that they might just have a chance. But just as quickly as the hope sparked, it was smothered by the appearance of reinforcements. More alien fighters appeared on the horizon, and they were coming straight for the Valkyrie. The battle was far from over. The war for humanity's survival had just begun. The Valkyrie's crew braced themselves as the first wave of alien reinforcements screamed toward them. Elena's heart hammered in her chest, but she kept her voice steady as she assessed the rapidly changing situation. "Maria, get us out of here," she commanded. "We can't hold them off like this." Maria's fingers flew over the control panel, expertly maneuvering the Valkyrie as a hailstorm of laser fire rained down from the incoming alien ships. The Valkyrie's shields, already weakened from the earlier barrage, flickered dangerously. Each hit sent a shudder through the hull, the ship groaning in protest. "We're not going to make it," Jason shouted from his station. "These fighters are faster than anything we've seen. They're all over us." Elena's mind raced, desperately searching for a solution. There was no way they could outrun the enemy fleet, not without a miracle. She needed to buy them time, enough to figure out their next move. "Can we cut them off? Can we reach the asteroid belt?" Elena asked, her voice calm despite the panic that was beginning to rise. "The asteroid belt is too far," Maria replied through gritted teeth. "We're getting boxed in, Captain. They're closing in from all sides." It was true. Alien fighters, sleek and menacing, darted in and out of the Valkyrie's firing range. The space around them was a blur of deadly ships, each one seemingly more determined than the last to tear the Valkyrie apart. "Captain," Jason's voice broke through the chaos. "We need to do something drastic. These fighters are too agile, and our weapons are nearly drained. We can't keep going like this." Elena clenched her fists, her mind working at lightning speed. Desperation was starting to creep in, but she pushed it aside. They couldn't afford to panic. Not now. "Listen, we have one option left," she said, her eyes narrowing as she formulated a risky plan. "Jason, Maria, listen to me. I want you both to trust me. We're going to make them think we're done for. We're going to fake a full systems failure." "A failure?" Jason asked, a confused tone in his voice. Elena nodded firmly. "We need to make them believe we're weak, that we've been defeated. The moment they lower their guard, that's when we strike. We've got to catch them off guard. And I mean completely off guard." Maria hesitated. "You want us to pretend to be out of commission. But what if they just finish us off?" "We don't have a choice," Elena replied, her voice unwavering. We don't have the firepower to keep fighting like this. If we don't trick them into underestimating us, we'll be destroyed." There was a tense pause before Maria spoke again. "All right, I'll play along, but this better work." Elena shot her a determined look. "It will. I know it will." With a deep breath, Maria began shutting down the ship's systems, causing the Valkyrie to shudder and flicker as though it were falling apart. The lights dimmed, and the ship's thrusters sputtered, leaving it drifting aimlessly in space. The sound of malfunctioning alarms filled the air as the artificial gravity cut out, and a sudden disorienting feeling swept over the crew. "We're dead in the water," Jason muttered, playing his part. "Shields are down. Weapons offline. We're done." The alien fighters, sensing their victory, pulled back slightly, no longer firing their deadly barrages. They circled around the Valkyrie, watching it closely, their weapons still trained on the now helpless ship. Elena kept her eyes on the screen, watching the alien fleet closely. They were buying it. They thought they had won, but it wouldn't last for long. "Now," Elena said, her voice low. "Maria, prepare to engage the moment I say. Jason, keep your finger on the trigger." They waited in silence, every second stretching on like an eternity. The alien fighters hovered around them, maintaining a safe distance, unwilling to take any chances. Elena's pulse raced, but she kept her breathing steady. It was a game of nerves now. One wrong move, and everything could fall apart. Then, as if the universe itself had decided to cooperate, the alien fighters finally made their mistake. One of them, a sleek and deadly ship with glowing red markings, drifted too close, perhaps overestimating the Valkyrie's compromised state. Elena saw her chance. "Now," she shouted. In an instant, Maria slammed the throttle forward, sending the Valkyrie surging back to life. The dormant engines roared as the ship came to life, launching toward the nearest alien fighter with terrifying speed. Jason didn't hesitate. The weapons, now reactivated, fired with brutal precision. The enemy fighter exploded in a burst of flame before it even had a chance to react. The remaining alien ship scrambled, realizing too late that the Valkyrie had been faking it. But it was already too late. The crew had taken the initiative, and they wouldn't stop until they made sure the alien fleet knew that humanity was not to be underestimated. "Get us closer to the mothership," Elena commanded. "We're not done yet. Let's finish this." With a renewed sense of purpose, the Valkyrie charged toward the heart of the alien fleet, the remaining alien fighters desperately trying to regroup. The real battle had only just begun. The Valkyrie tore through the chaos of the alien fleet with unstoppable force, its weapons firing in quick succession. Elena's hands were steady on the controls, but her mind was racing. They had done the impossible, turned the tables when defeat seemed certain. But the fight was far from over. There was one more enemy to face, and it was far bigger and more dangerous than anything they had encountered before. "Captain, I'm picking up something," Jason said urgently from his station. "A massive ship. It's the mothership. It's heading straight for us." Elena's heart skipped a beat. The alien mothership was enormous, easily 3 times the size of the Valkyrie. Its dark, jagged silhouette loomed like a mountain in space, a terrifying symbol of the enemy's power. "We need to take it down," Elena said through clenched teeth. "This is the heart of their fleet. If we destroy it, the rest will scatter." Maria didn't hesitate. "Then let's do it. We've come this far." The Valkyrie closed in on the mothership, weapons primed and shields pushed to their limits. The alien ship fired first, sending a barrage of plasma energy at the Valkyrie, but Maria skillfully evaded, twisting the ship into a roll that sent them spiraling out of the way. The plasma beams scorched the empty space where they had been just moments ago. Elena's eyes narrowed. "Brace yourselves. We're going in." With a sudden surge of speed, the Valkyrie plunged forward, targeting the mothership's weak points, its engines, its shield generators, its weapons arrays. Every blast from their weapons felt like it would be their last, but they kept firing, unwilling to give in. The alien mothership retaliated with its own fury. A massive energy beam shot out from its core, hitting the Valkyrie with a force that shook the ship to its very core. Alarms screamed as the ship's hull groaned, and sparks flew from several systems. "We can't take another hit like that," Maria shouted, trying to steady the Valkyrie as they tumble through space. "The shields are almost down." Elena's mind raced. The Valkyrie couldn't endure another direct hit. They needed to act fast. If they couldn't destroy the mothership's defenses, they'd be sitting ducks. "We need to use the asteroid field," Elena said quickly. "Take us behind those asteroids, Maria. Use the terrain to hide us for a moment. Jason, get our weapons recharged. We're going to make a final run." Maria didn't question it. She yanked the controls, sending the Valkyrie diving toward the asteroid field, weaving between the massive rocks that floated through space. The ship's massive frame barely fit between the gaps, and Elena held her breath as they narrowly avoided a collision. The mothership was pursuing them, firing relentlessly, but the asteroids were their only hope. "We're not getting far with this, Captain," Jason warned. "Their sensors can track us through the rocks." "We don't need to go far," Elena replied, her voice calm. "We just need them to think we're hiding. That's when we'll strike." The Valkyrie hid behind the largest asteroid it could find, only its silhouette visible to the alien fleet. For a tense moment, nothing moved. Then, as if on cue, the alien mothership paused. It slowed, unsure of where the Valkyrie had gone. The rest of the fleet followed its lead, regrouping around the mothership. Elena's heart pounded. The moment had come. "Now, Maria," she ordered, her voice cutting through the tense silence. Maria pulled the ship out of hiding, guns blazing. They emerged from behind the asteroid like a wolf leaping from the shadows, and the Valkyrie fired everything it had left. The alien mothership's shields flared brightly as the attacks hit, but they didn't hold up for long. Jason's voice rang out. "We've hit their weak point. The shields are failing. Keep firing." Elena shouted. "We've got one shot at this." With everything they had left, the Valkyrie unleashed a final barrage. Every blast seemed to shake the very fabric of space itself. The alien mothership's shields finally gave way, and the Valkyrie's weapons tore through the hull. Sparks and explosions erupted across the enemy ship's surface. For a moment, the universe was still. Then, in a blinding explosion, the alien mothership disintegrated into nothingness. A shockwave rippled through space, sending the smaller alien ships spiraling in all directions. The remaining fighters, left leaderless and confused, scattered, their resolve broken. The Valkyrie hovered in space, smoke trailing from its battered frame. The crew was silent for a moment, each of them absorbing the magnitude of what had just happened. They had done it. They had destroyed the heart of the enemy's fleet. Elena finally exhaled, a deep, relieved breath. "We did it. We stopped them." Jason, still processing the victory, turned to Elena. "I didn't think we could pull it off. But you, Captain, you led us through it." Elena smiled, though her eyes were still focused on the debris that had once been the alien mothership. "We did it together," she said quietly. "All of us." As the remnants of the alien fleet drifted into nothingness, the crew of the Valkyrie knew they had just changed the course of history. Humanity's first real encounter with the galaxy's most powerful force had ended in victory. But in the back of Elena's mind, a new thought began to grow. The galaxy was vast, and the alien fleet they had defeated was only a small part of a much larger story. The battle was over for now, but this was only the beginning of a much greater conflict. And humanity's place in the stars was far from decided. For now, though, the Valkyrie and its crew could rest. But the universe had many more surprises in store, and they were ready to face them together.